I apologize that we don't have any slides for you to see, but there isn't too much to see on the slides anyway. So I will paint the picture for you to see in your mind. Sometimes that's better anyway. I am Jon Maddog Hall. I am the Chief Executive Officer of a company called Optin. I've been in the free software space a very long time. Down there, aiming the camera, is my Chief Technical Officer, Alex Karasulu. More dog at optin.com. Besides being the Chief Executive Officer for Optin, I'm also the Board Chairman of the Linux Professional Institute, of which Cesar, who has been entertaining you, is the Director of Operations here in Latin America. I'm also the President of Project Kawan, which is a project to help university students make money and start their own company while they are in university. And finally, I'm an old man with a long white beard who goes around giving free software, ho ho ho. I first came to Brazil in 1996, and I saw the University of Sao Paulo, and I experienced the power of the Brazilian people. The University of Sao Paulo is ranked #1 of many universities here in Brazil, and is one of the top universities in all of Latin America. They were using free and open source software. In 1999, I joined the Linux Professional Institute. We do certification so that people can study about free software any way they want to, and hopefully get a job by receiving their certification. In 2005, I started Project Kawan with the main goal of creating millions of jobs in Latin America. And while some of those goals and processes have changed, the main goal is still there. And in 2011, we started a project called Caninos Loucos, Crazy Canines, to reduce the cost of single-board computers and computers here in Brazil in general. And you'll hear more about all of these later on. In the United States, we have a game called baseball. And in baseball, you have 3 bases. And as you go up to hit the ball, sometimes you get on the base, and then you go to the second base, and then the third base. And when all 3 bases have somebody standing on them, and your best hitter comes up the bat, they hit what is called the grand slam, a home run which brings all 4 runners home. We are about to create the grand slam because we have a piece of software called Subutai. Now, there are problems with the cloud software as you know it today. The clouds are owned by Amazon, owned by Google, owned by large corporations in the United States. The internet was actually created to be distributed. So in case of hurricane, or earthquake, or fire, or something else, that the internet could reconfigure itself to bring communications. The clouds, being centralized, destroyed that. If the major cloud goes down, thousands upon thousands of people lose their ability to do work. You always pay with these clouds, either in money, or you pay by them scanning your data, looking for marketing information to market back to you. You cannot sell the cloud providers anything. There's nothing that you have that they want. And so you're always paying in one way or another. You have no guaranteed privacy. Sure, they have privacy letters and privacy policies, but as we found out about a year ago, the NSA was spying when President Dilma, when she was writing emails, and they could be spying on you. Because even if these cloud companies have the best of all purposes, they are still loyal U.S. citizens. And if my government goes to them with what we call a subpoena, a letter from a judge saying they have to cooperate, then they have to cooperate. But you have no choice. You have no control over that because you're Brazilian. And you can't vote for our president. You can't vote for our lawmakers. You cannot vote for our judges. The Internet of Things is lost in what we call the fog. Most clouds work with applications talking to them. And that leaves out this thing, this tiny little thing here, or this tiny little thing there, because the applications talk to the things, and then the applications talk to the cloud. The cloud doesn't allow applications to talk to things by themselves. You have no control over the cloud. The control is taken away from you. And many times when I talk about free software, I say that people lose the concept of freedom because freedom is a hard thing to understand. But they do understand the concept of slavery, where you're told where to go, what to do, who to marry, when to have children. And in software slavery, you're told when to retire your system, when to update it, and when to retire your system. For example, Windows XP. So now we have slides. Thank you very much. And just in time, because this slide says that Subutai is the answer. Because we want to choose it all. We want to have control over everything. Our hardware, our software, our applications, and our cloud. Subutai is a peer-to-peer cloud. You start with your computer and you set up Subutai on your computer, and then you can connect with other computers running Subutai directly. You don't have to go to any central source. Nobody else has to know that you're setting up that cloud. You can contact another computer and say, I'd like to use some of your resources. I'd like to use your CPU. I'd like to store data on your disk. I'd like to use some specialized feature that you have, and I will pay you for it. Or I will barter you for it. I'll give you some of my CPU if you'll give me some of your storage. It is secure. It is authenticated and encrypted. It is a private network that you set up. This is Subutai. It allows you to sell, barter, or donate resources. The resources are CPU power, disk, network, and other types of resources that you might have. It uses cloud containers, just like Google and Amazon do, in order to give you easy creation of programs. It uses what we call blueprints to allow you to take your application and set it up in this little cloud that you have. I said little cloud, but it could be huge. It could be many thousands of systems which you set up to be in your cloud. Or it could be only 2 or 3. It's up to you. They also run Google App Engine's applications without change. So anything which is in the Google Store will run on Subutai without change. And it allows this environment, this cloud which you set up, to follow you any place you go. So if you leave your house and you go to your university, you still have access to all of the things in your cloud which you set up in your house. Or if your university sets up a cloud, you have access to everything that they set up in that cloud. We have a second piece of software. Oh, before I go on, I should tell you that everything about Subutai is open source, of course. I would not be standing up here if that was not true. So every piece of code for Subutai is up on GitHub, and you can bring it down yourself and compile it and use it. Or you can use the preformed distributions. Subutai Hub is a marketplace. Now, you can set up directly your cloud with other people you know about. But what happens if there are people you don't know about? People who have resources who would be happy to sell those to you, but you simply don't know about them. You can go to the Subutai Hub and you can find those resources that are close to you. Maybe they're less expensive than others. Maybe they're more dependable than others. But that's up to you to decide, because you have control. And as people create applications to better use Subutai, they can list those applications in the hub so that other people can use them or perhaps even buy them. We also have an optional piece of hardware called the Subutai router. The Subutai router is optional. You do not need it in order to work Subutai, but it does make it more efficient to use it. It has got hardwired Ethernet on it. It also has Wi-Fi and a configurable RAID, so you can have RAID of different types for your disk. But after it's configured, the hardware does the RAID, not the software. This is the version 1.0 of the router, which we did. And we now have a version 2.0 that's even more powerful, that's available on GitHub. The design is also open source. In addition to all the things I mentioned in the version 1 router, the version 2 router has two uses. Number one, it has the same interfaces that the Raspberry Pi and the Arduino have. So if you build a shield for the Arduino, or you build a circuitry for the Raspberry Pi, you can drive them from the Subutai router version 2.0. It has one other function that you might like. It can also mine and store cryptocurrency. It has FPGAs on the board, which will allow you to mine cryptocurrency while your router is running. And so for the people that seem to have been left out of the cryptocurrency market, this will be a way that you can get into the cryptocurrency market without having to spend a lot of money and without having to waste a lot of electrical power, because your router is on all the time anyway. The router is designed and ready for manufacture. We are targeting January to have it in mass quantities, but it could be sooner, because we're working with the Caninas Lupus project in order to manufacture this router in Brazil, using Brazilian people to manufacture this, generating Brazilian jobs, and lowering the cost of the router because we're not paying ridiculously high import taxes. As I mentioned before, it is open source and the design is on GitHub. As I stated before, I've been coming to Brazil ever since 1996. And people say to me, why did you pick Brazil to launch Subutai? Why didn't you launch it in the United States or Europe or some other place? And I chose Brazil because of the long usage of free and open source software and hardware. The enthusiasm of people like you to be able to bring free software forward. Also, Subutai has to work around the world. So even though we currently have a main engineering group in a city called Bishkek in Asia, we want to have another development facility and support facility here in Brazil, and we are currently looking for cities to host this. Brazil is what we call time zone friendly, that in these different time zones we can have different people from the community helping us to make Subutai successful. And Brazil is part of the Mercosur agreement, so the people in Argentina, Uruguay, and other countries will be able to take advantage of the hardware that is produced, as well as the software. There are many of these projects coming together at the same time, which is why I started this talk, saying the Grand Slam. I'd like to talk just a few minutes about each one of them. I've mentioned Canitas Lucas several times. We want to produce inexpensive single-board computers like this one inside of Brazil. This is I've been working on this project for 5 years. Last March we produced 100 of these computers as a test. This January we hope to produce another 100,000 of these computers. This one is called the Labrador. It is a mid-range computer, much like the Raspberry Pi, but much better than the Raspberry Pi. It has twice the RAM. It has USB 3, which is 10 times faster than the USB on the Raspberry Pi. And it runs applications at least as fast as the Raspberry Pi, often 2 or 3 times faster. We hope to have this at a reasonable cost in Brazil, probably about $70 US, 210 reais. And we want to take these and distribute them at Campus Party in January. There were 2 other computers that we're making as part of Canitas Lucas. One, of course, is the Subutai router version 2, and a very, very, very small sensor computer called the Flea. This is being done at the University of Sao Paulo on the facilities of LSI Tech, a nonprofit organization. We will be distributing these computers at cost to people who need them. And this brings in a lot of the IoT applications like home automation and security and control of the electric grid and a lot of other things. The University of Sao Paulo and Canitas Lucas has been designated by the Brazilian government as being the platform for the Internet of Things program for Brazil. And they've received a $1.4 million, 4.2 million real grant from the government to get this started. Project Kawa, which is designed to allow more students to attend university by giving them the ability to earn the money for their apartments, their internet communications, their books, and everything else, is now be able to sell software on top of the Labrador to small businesses and to homeowners. We want to put Kodi on here as a home entertainment system and first connection to the internet for the people of digital inclusion. We want to put Udo on here as a point of sale system and an open ERP system for small business people. And we hope to distribute tens of thousands of these inside of Ubatuba, our pilot city at first, and then throughout the rest of Brazil as we take our pilot project and bring it throughout the cities of Brazil and later the cities of Latin America. And of course, we'll be using free and open source software and hardware to create new products that people can deliver here in Brazil, in Latin America, and utilizing everybody's ability to contribute. So in Campus Party in Sao Paulo, we would like to be able to give away 8,000 of these first Labrador computers. And we wish to do that by finding sponsors who will pay for these so that the people who attend Campus Party would have to pay a minimal amount of money, perhaps 30 reais for the computer. We have talks underway to get Subutai certified by the Linux Professional Institute, so that you'll be able to learn about it, to get your certification, and to be able to make money helping people put their applications onto Subutai and helping them set up their networks as they wish. And we are in discussions with the 4Linux Corporation. They are the largest training and support organization in Sao Paulo to create educational courses about Subutai to allow you to get your certification. Here at LatinoWare, we have a series of things going on. Alex and I will be in the PTI booth in the vendor area today and Friday. And you can see the Labrador computer. You can see Subutai running. You can get stickers for your laptop and tattoos for your arm, temporary tattoos, so that your mothers and fathers won't hate me. And of course, pictures with Maddog. So you won't have to run all over to get your pictures. You can just come to the booth. In the open hardware track tomorrow, I'll be going in deep discussion about the Canitas Lucas project. That's at 1700 hours, 5 p.m. So if you'd like to see that, please come to the free hardware track. And we're going to have some LPI certification tests here. I was told you have 2 more days to register. And we're going to have 2 Raspberry Pis that we are giving away at that registration. So people will be able to get into a contest to win a Raspberry Pi. With that, I thank you very much. But I have only one more thing to show you. Subutai was a general for Genghis Khan. He was the first general not to be awarded because of his royalty, because of his family. He was the first general to be awarded such because he was good, on merit. He was a slave at first, and then he became free. He was one of the greatest generals of all times. And that's why we have named this cloud software Subutai, because of this Mongol general. And so,
yay!
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to say, Subutai!
Subutai!
Louder, Subutai!
Subutai!
Louder, stand up, say Subutai!
Subutai!
Yes! Freedom! Freedom!
Freedom!
Yes! Thank you very much.